Welcome to Wacko Radio.
Welcome.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Depending on what time of day it is that you're listening, I guess, right?
Yeah, so either today or tonight's, depending what you're doing, episode is another underrated movies / films / television / entertainment. Anything underrated, this is where we talk about it.
Right. Just things that you find that, maybe didn't get great reviews or something that wasn't like a major hit, but you really enjoy it.
Yeah, a movie that, exactly, like Liz just said, a movie that, you look at the reviews and the numbers and the box office and you think, wait, this should have been better. This should have made more money. Those are the types of things we're talking about. And let's give tonight's episode a go. Here we go. Wacko Radio.
So this movie that the underrated movie we're gonna be talking about tonight is, drum roll. The Wacko dog got upset in the background. Is The Watch.
The Watch, 2012. A little action comedy sci-fi, according to IMDb. If you haven't seen or heard of The Watch, we will go through some of the cast. We got Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, Jonah Hill, Richard Ayoade. How do you say this?
Let me see. Oh, Ayoade maybe?
Richard Ayoade.
Sure. He's a British actor, right?
Yeah, Richard Ayoade.
He plays Jamarcus in the movie, if anyone who's seen it.
Yeah, he's Jamarcus. Ben Stiller is Evan, Vince Vaughn is Bob, Jonah Hill is Franklin.
Right.
And that's basically the four guys who are part of The Watch.
But it revolves around, Ben Stiller's the main character.
Yeah, here, according to this, read the plot line to the audience.
So the plot line says, 4 men who form a neighborhood watch group as a way to get out of their day-to-day family routines find themselves defending the Earth from an alien invasion. So I think
sounds about it.
So Ben Stiller pretty much starts it, which it kind of reminds me of Old School, because Vince Vaughn's in Old School when he's also like, oh yeah, I want to join this.
That's true. No, that is
It just
true.
made me think of it, because when he's like, oh yeah, we, just made me think of a connection of his character,
Yeah, Vince.
But
that's the one thing that I'm interested to talk about is just how different each one of the... I guess Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn are maybe kind of similar, sarcastic, kind of smart alecky.
Well,
is that the right?
I think personally, my take on it is that Vince Vaughn's kind of more... He is smart-assy, but I feel like he's more in your face about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he talks fast.
Yeah, he'll talk fast. Oh, you know what I'm saying, baby? Yeah, let's do it! He'll kind of talk like that.
Another thing I noticed that Vince Vaughn does a lot of movies is he'll call people by nicknames. So, I can't think of an Old School... What is even Luke Wilson's name? I guess we could look it up, but... I
can't remember.
Oh, it's Mitch.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mitchapalooza.
Yeah.
But Vince Vaughn seems like he's always doing, nicknames, or at least in this movie. That's his big thing, saying, Ben Stiller's character's name's Evan, and say, oh, Evan Rooney, or Evmeister, or Jonah Hill plays his character Franklin, like Frank and Beans, the Frank Man, the Frankster, the Frankenstein, Frankenstein. He talks fast, he's witty, he's funny, and I always like Vince Vaughn. I think Vince Vaughn, I could see maybe how... No, I would think he's pretty universally liked. I could see people liking him more than Ben Stiller, probably.
Think?
Maybe. Because Ben Stiller, kind of, his comedy... how would you describe his sense of humor? Thinking of his resume. Or probably really the Ben Stiller show, since if we want to really go back. Because that was
that's
him
his
writing
first
it.
thing. Yeah.
That probably gives you...
it's silly, but also...
Maybe he likes the satires, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe. I don't know.
Taking things out of context. I feel like he likes, miscommunication stuff where someone says something and he'll be like, no, that's not it at all. No, you can't do that. Almost like an uptight person.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how his character is in The Watch. He's, uptight. So, but, when everyone else is, having, hanging out. He's like, no, guys, you have to stick to the schedule. Like, almost like being like, it's like a funny stickler kind of, where everyone's like, relax, you're being a nerd. And he's like, no, you know what? You know, like, I'm taking my ball and going home. And they have to, like, convince him not to do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what it seems. I mean, like I said, at least in the watch it is.
And when he plays well. Of course, he's like a fitness. He's always.
But he is a lot. Yeah, that's fit. Another. No, he is fit, but that's also another thing that we noticed though with Ben Stiller stuff, like with his movies and things. Like Dodgeball. He was the fitness person.
Way back in Heavyweights.
Right. He was always kind of like.
He's basically. If you ever seen Heavyweights, this is a movie from the '90s, and it's Ben Stiller plays like the camp. He works at like a fat camp, and he comes in and he tries to get all these kids in shape, and he's the Dodgeball character, the same kind of like doofus, like okay,
yeah, like super into like fitness, to the point where it's like psychotic, yeah.
But hey, I guess if an actor is fit, I mean, why not play that? You know what I mean? Like, not to compare him with Dwayne Johnson, but of course Dwayne Johnson's always gonna be playing this big strong dude because he's this huge fucking dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe it's not a great example, but.
Well, but.
And then there's Jonah Hill, who, you've seen Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn together in a number of movies, but Jonah Hill seemed like he kind of was the new guy. Because 2012, I mean, I guess Superbad's been out. I mean, he's definitely a movie star.
But at least to be with. It was an interesting blend of, like, comedic styles, I think.
I think so. And Jonah Hill's, how do you think his style of comedy is? Like, definitely probably the raunchiest. Kind of like, really, I don't want to say like dick and fart jokes, but kind of. Because Jonah Hill's kind of comes from that gang of guys, like the Apatow people, like Seth Rogen, and, movies like This Is the End and Superbad and this stuff, like, kind of have this kind of raunchy, vulgar, potty mouth kind of potty humor.
Right, but I don't think he did it that much in this movie.
In this one. A little bit, maybe. Well, I mean, I guess so. I'm just trying to get an idea. I'm just trying to get a feel of like each one of their individual kind of like.
I know, but I'm saying at least with their styles, but in terms of like the movie, I don't think he did it so much in the movie. He kind of played it. I feel like he kind of played a different version, a little bit of his own comedy in the movie because he played like some cop who failed a test.
That's true.
And you don't look at Jonah Hill as that.
A guy who looks like he wants to join the army.
Yeah, or like just some big tough guy. Right?
That's true.
But also in what is it? 21 Jump Street, he plays like a cop.
Yeah.
But a cop that's not taken seriously, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like he plays kind of like a wannabe tough guy in a way.
Yeah, he's kind of like the tough, as Vince Vaughn calls him in the movie, like, what does he say? He's like, every group's got to have a wild card, and I think we found our man right here.
Yeah, I dig
Vince
it.
Vaughn impression, and I dig it. Vince Vaughn, I wish I could talk that fast. Definitely not. And then, so you got those three guys, and then you have, I do not know how to say his name, I apologize. Richard Ayoade. Ayoade.
I don't know. We'll just have to check.
I don't even know.
But
let's just call him Rich.
One who plays Jamarcus.
He's the UK actor who plays Jamarcus. Who I remember, for the record, I wanted to say that the very first time I saw this movie years ago, I remember seeing it and being like, "What is this? Like aliens? Like I didn't know." I remember the trailers. Neighborhood Watch. Oh, that's okay. The Watch. That's funny. You got these guys, and then it's like aliens. Like really. But then watching it again and watching it a couple times with you, that's when I kind of just really kind of dug it and fell in love with it. And I remember, for example, to get back to that guy who played Jamarcus, Richard Ayoade, I remember thinking, like, who's this guy? Mm-hmm. Like, why is it him? Like, you have these three, Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, like, they're always paired up. Like, Jonah Hill, he's the hot kind of new thing, young guy.
At the time, yeah.
And then you would think, like, why wouldn't it be, like, you would think it would be like Will Ferrell or one of those guys.
Right, but I like the idea they didn't do that.
Exactly, and actually watching it more and more, I'm like, this guy's fucking perfect for this role, and he's hilarious. I mean, he's hilarious.
He was really funny.
He steals scenes. I mean,
and besides, I like when that happens and you become a fan of someone new that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. So I thought they all blended really well. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I wish I knew what I think he's. in a popular show over in the UK, but I'm just not sure what it is. We'll have to do some
research on that.
There's a show that looks like he was on for a while called The Mighty Boosh. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But yeah, he was a great addition, and so overall the cast. I mean, the woman who you got Will Forte in it, who I think people like. He
plays the weirdo cop.
He plays the weirdo cop. Like people seem to be a fan of him. Got a couple young girls. You have Arlie Erme plays Manfred. He's the old man who kicks them off their property. If you haven't seen the movie, definitely.
It's going to be a spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, big time. Jamarcus is an alien the whole time. There's one spoiler we could spoil, but there's an older actor, Arlie Erme, who is probably best known from Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket from, I think, 1987, and he played the drill sergeant at the beginning of the movie, and he's in it for only a couple minutes in the watch, but he's always been good, and I'm pretty sure that he was an actual drill sergeant, and then he got hired to do Full Metal Jacket, and then since then he just been in movies. He's been around, but he was great. So all in all, the cast is definitely all fine. I mean, maybe the wife, the actress, nothing against her acting, but maybe the character gets a little bit annoying. Ben Stiller's wife.
Yeah.
Abby, played by, let's see here, played by Rosemary something. She was, I get it. There has some character arcs with him and his wife and all that. And he becomes a better man toward the end of the movie, just the basic kind of thing. This is taking its time, but so the cast is solid, and the director is Akiva Schaffer, who you probably all know from The Lonely Island. With him, Jorma and Andy Samberg, the three guys who are probably most famous now for SNL. Who they did all the digital shorts, and Akiva always directed all the digital shorts. So he's been in the comedy world for a handful of years before this film. They did Hot Rod. He directed Hot Rod with Andy Samberg and Jorma Taccone a couple years before The Watch, and it seems like Akiva's been having a pretty good directorial career and a career. They had that movie Pop Star, which we haven't seen yet, but that is newer-ish, maybe, still. You got that. You got a writer, Jared Stern, who I think maybe wrote the original script, and then they had Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg come in and do some rewrites. So maybe that's where Jonah Hill came in. Maybe that's how he got attached. Maybe Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, my buddies, are working on the script. What is this? Let's check this out. But so that's basically a sum up of the cast and a little bit of the crew. So we could dive right into. We're gonna go through the movie, talk about the scenes we like, and try to defend it and explain that it's underrated and better. At least we think better than what it made and what it got reviewed.
I mean, honestly, I laughed pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel bored. I mean, there's some movies that everyone's like, oh, these are so good, and I've watched some, and I feel like I start getting bored. I think this one was... I didn't feel bored. I don't know. At least, I was just surprised that it wasn't a bigger deal than it was. I don't know if maybe it seemed strange because it was like a sci-fi comedy, like these guys are in... But it really... I think it's just done really well. I think they blended scares and comedy. I think they blended them well together. I
think so.
The parts that are supposed to be a little bit creepy and stuff, I think they do a good job with that.
Yeah.
Nothing seemed corny or anything to me. And then, having it be funny. I think they did a good balance with that.
I think so. I think, ultimately, if you're a fan of Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn type of comedies, this one's just as good. This one's just as good as Dodgeball and... maybe Wedding Crashers is better. I don't know, but
they're all. But I mean, that's also a different kind of comedy, though. This is like a sci-fi comedy, So I feel like you can't compare that to like two guys just trying to bang chicks.
That's true.
That's a comedy in itself, but you can't, I mean, at least that's how I look at it.
But like you said, like Liz said, we're laughing during it, and if you're laughing during a comedy, I mean, that's, in my mind, it's most important. Story obviously is very important in films, but maybe as far as comedies, maybe story comes second and laughs come first. Maybe, which I think this story's fine. I think it's a fine, seemed like a good, fine script and some twists and turns. And
I think they do a good job with that too. When we were watching it, I didn't say, "Oh, I bet this is what's going on." I think they did a good job with that also.
They did all right.
And another thing about it that I like too, which can be, everybody has their favorite movies, and you can say whatever it may be. I could watch that movie 1,000 times, and I get nervous at this one part, even though I know what's going to happen. It's that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so we all have our favorite movies for that reason. But I think with this one also is that it's kind of like two movies in a way, because if you've never, the first time you watch it and you see everything that happens, and then and then when you watch it again, like I said, spoiler alert, Jamarcus is an alien.
A good alien. Okay. He still ends up being a good guy.
Right, but I'm saying my point is, when you know that after you watch it the first time, and then you watch it again, you pay attention to Jamarcus, to that character, and you pay attention to what they're saying throughout the movie, and you can see his expressions and when he's getting uncomfortable kind of in the corner, and things like that. So it made that fun for me because, like I said, it's like watching two movies. Yeah. So, pay attention to when they say, like when he shows up at Ben Stiller's door for like the watch meeting, and he says, "Oh wow, you're like the best kind of person that could have showed up," and he kind of makes a weird face because he's like, "Ugh, like I'm actually not a person."
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. Or
exactly.
Just those little hints throughout the whole, through all the scenes that you can pay attention to, and you're like, oh. But like when he hits something, Ben Stiller's driving and they're all drinking beer and they hit something, and they pull over and there's green goo in the car. Remember, in the front, and Vince Vaughn says it feels like cum. I'm like, ooh, what? And they're all touching it, and Jamarcus says, yes, definitely, the texture, the flavor. And they're like, well, no, what? No, I didn't say that. He doesn't even understand what that means because he's an alien.
Maybe that is his cum, because then when he's like, yeah, it's definitely cum, and then Vince Vaughn's, well, I'm not saying it's literally cum, it feels like cum. But yeah, so maybe that's the alien juice that comes out as the green stuff. So he's like, yeah, this is cum, because like maybe that's what comes out. You know what I mean?
Right, but they're also like confused. So you're seeing, they're like, not from what do you mean a person doesn't do, like what? Like, so you can see the confusion there, and just like I said, throughout the whole movie when he's kind of like making faces or looks like nervous or something.
Yeah.
So
regardless, if you like, what the whole core of everything is, if you enjoy the movie, you think it's funny, definitely watch it again, knowing, because then you could kind of watch it, like Liz said, on a different. Right, it's like watching a new movie, sort of, because you could look at the little things that go on. But let's go back to the beginning of the movie. The movie starts off with an opening narration from Ben Stiller. The classic. It shows the planets up in space. What world do we live in? People think we're all alone. Basically kind of narration, and then it cuts into a classic kind of, I don't say cliche Ben Stiller thing, but it's like, my name's Evan, and I'm part of this, and I live in Greenfield, Ohio, the greatest place, and it kind of almost, the narration kind of almost turns into almost like an infomercial, commercial type of thing, which Ben Stiller seems like he does often. I know, to bring up Dodgeball again, I know at the beginning he's in a commercial, and it seems very, so right off the bat, the first like 30 seconds in, like, this seems like a Ben Stiller movie, all right, and either you like it or you don't, or you're annoyed by it, I'm sure people out there, some people are annoyed by Benjamin Stiller, but
Ben Stiller's character is a manager at Costco. Yeah,
I wonder if
and he's takes it very seriously, over the top. Like, it talked about how he worked 12 years to become the manager at Costco. So he's very, very proud of the store. So they kind of really focus on that also. The one guy that works for him at night, he's kind of the first victim. The Spanish guy.
Yeah, the movie. Yeah, so why Costco? I don't know. I don't know. I wonder if that was always in the script. I never know how those things work. Like if that was always in the script, or Costco was some form of sponsor or some sort of.
Could be.
Like I never really know. So I don't know if it, like I said, if it was originally in the script and they contact Costco or. But anyway, Costco is a big theme throughout, and a big almost a running joke throughout the entire movie, which is definitely just makes it kind of, I don't know. I know it's not like, oh, Costco's funny, but it just kind of adds a little bit to the silliness to it. But the movie opens up. Yeah, Ben Stiller closes the shop. He the night security's there, played by, I'm not sure the actor's name, but he was the guy in Superbad who was the liquor store worker. Mm-hmm. Who when McLovin drops all the spear, he comes up and he's, oh, fuck my life. And he, which, so that guy's that guy's always been, I didn't even recognize him first time I saw this movie, and then until we looked it up, I was like, oh shit, it's that guy. It's hilarious. But anyway, the movie starts with him. He's kind of partying up. He's night security. He's fucking around, drinking, watching wild things, drinking, smoking, just dancing around, and then the alien comes and shit kind of, it gets serious. And like it says, like they it's, once the scares are happening, it's there's no comedy. Anytime there's like a death, besides maybe Will Forte's cop buddy, because that's a bit. But, like, when the security guy gets killed, when the kid on the skateboard gets killed a little bit later on, there's no comedy at all. It's actually, you put that in a serious movie and it would work just fine. And there's some blood in there, too, which gives it kind of makes it even a little bit darker. So I don't know if that's considered... I guess that wouldn't be considered dark comedy, but if it's in a comedy, I wonder if it would be considered dark comedy, because there is like gore and violence. What do you think?
I don't know, maybe it just depends on how much there is.
Yeah.
Like they didn't focus on, like they you can see something happens to him, but you're not watching him get killed.
Yeah.
Like he gets thrown against a window and there's blood, and then he kind of gets thrown down. You hear him like kind of scrape against the window or whatever. So
yeah,
like it's enough that you're like, oh geez, and then that's kind of then it's over.
Yeah. But I think the scares, but I think it blended well, and it almost is, I think, better when that they kind of kept the scary part scary and the funny parts funny, because then it did, and I think they did a good job blending it, and because you think like if they added little jokes between some of the scary scenes, like would it then maybe cross the line and be kind of too much, like kind of stupid?
Yeah, I think it would have made it corny.
Like corny. Exactly. Here's a fun fact. I have these facts from imdb.com. A couple facts we'll just start peppering in through this podcast. Chris Tucker was considered for the role of Jamarcus.
It's interesting.
It's always funny. Now, again, this may not be true, but according to imdb.com, Chris Tucker was considered the role of Jamarcus. I mean, it's always funny you hear these stories about these movies that could have had an alternate cast member, and you it's impossible, I guess, really to imagine how it would be like, because you're just so used to how it is.
How they would have taken that.
But that would have been very interesting. I'm not against it. I mean, I like Chris Tucker. I'm not against it. But I thought that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting, the choices that they had for that.
Yeah. And another fact, Vince Vaughn joined the project because he liked his character's relationship with his daughter. Vince Vaughn, I mean, has he played fathers in most movies?
I mean, he was on an old school with little kids, though.
That's true.
This one, he has a teenage daughter.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. This one, he has a teenage daughter. Yeah, and I guess there's a point where Will Ferrell was supposed to be the leading role, which, another interesting thing to think, if it was Will Ferrell over Ben Stiller, maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have been a smash hit, because the movie didn't do very well. it says the budget was $68 million estimated, which is a pretty reasonable sized budget. The opening weekend it made $12 million. Which I don't think is a bad opening for a movie. I mean, $12 million. I mean, it seems like that's a good weekend. But then I guess maybe it got a bad rep, and it started decreasing because it said it only grossed $34 million, a little over $34 million. So if that's the case, if it had a $68 million budget, yeah, that's
like half.
Yeah, literally, it's like half. Shit, man. So I don't know. I mean, you never know. You never know with movies. That's the thing. Like, it could have came out at the wrong time. Maybe Ben Stiller or Vince Vaughn or one of those guys, maybe they had a movie before this that was a flop and people didn't want to really see. Like, I don't want to see another Ben Stiller movie or another Vince Vaughn movie. So you never really know. I mean, that's kind of the big gamble with movies. Is
maybe they didn't sell it enough. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, really, because I think this movie is fine. I mean, I really think it's a solid movie. I mean, unless you're really against this type of comedy or this type of sense of humor from the cast. But I mean, really, I don't know.
I mean, maybe people just didn't know what to think of it.
But it looked like they had a good time.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, you have a great director from Saturday Night Live, like this funny dude who seems like a nice guy, seems like a calm guy. Doesn't seem like the type of director that would yell or freak out or fire people or any of that nonsense. And you could definitely tell. That's what I love about comedies. One, I know we always look for it when we try to catch them like starting to laugh.
Or where they must have I bet they edited it right here because it looks like they're cracking.
Like,
or they're
you can
starting
tell
to
they're just about to laugh, and especially in this movie, like a lot of the scenes where it's just the four of them talking in a room. I'm sure a majority of it is improv because all those guys. I mean, Ben Stiller, all of those guys are known for improv. I mean, like. And Jonah Hill, kind of, his career, when he started becoming a big star, started off with super bad, Knocked Up, and that's those group of people, Judd Apatow people, who that is how they make their movies. They basically improv every scene. They just riff and see what happens, and I think it's great. And it's. I think the guys in this one improved and were just fine, and you could tell, especially between Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller, that they'd probably been friends for who knows how long. And so it's always fun watching, going through movies and looking for that. Another thing with Ben Stiller, there was a scene when it's like their first neighborhood watch call. They join the neighborhood watch.
Well, they form one. Ben
form
Stiller
one.
forms it.
Yeah.
And then they all decide to join it. So.
Yeah, and so it's like their first night, or maybe second night, they're scoping out the Costco where the murder was at the beginning, and they get a call. This point, you still don't know that it's aliens. Like, I don't even think the audience knows.
No, you don't know yet.
I don't think. I mean, something. Like, when the security guy gets killed at the beginning, you probably figure it's something, and maybe going in, you already know that, okay, this is going to be aliens. But they get a call to go back to the football field, and they get egged by these punks, and they get the one kid, bring him back to jail, the one egger punk. But, of course, another kind of Ben Stiller staple, it seems like, is he's always running. He has that Ben Stiller run, just like our main man, Tom Cruise. And they kind of run almost the same way. It's like they almost run in every movie. And
like
it's just
sprint.
like
It's a sprint.
It's a serious run.
Yeah.
It's a good run. I mean, it's a good sprint.
But they comment on it. So he tackles Ben Stiller's running, and tackles the kid who threw the eggs or whatever.
Yeah.
Even like Vince Vaughn's character is like, oh wow, Evan with the arms up, like because he's flying.
Evan Rooney. Yeah. The arms going.
They tackle him, and after that. like, yeah, like Vince Vaughn's character's, being like real, not mouthy, but the way he is, like, yeah, baby, yeah, undefeated. Like they caught the egger, like undefeated, and they're high-fiving, and so then they showed this slow montage of them taking this,
or just slow motion of them walking to the police station with what Snoop Dogg song is that? Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Who's the motherfucker?
Yeah.
What song is that called?
I can't remember.
Shit. But you all know that song, and it's a little slow motion, and kind of like their victory walking into the police station, all like looking
super
cool,
badass.
Bringing in this like little punk skateboarder kid, and who ends up, because Will Forte's the cop, and as soon as they leave, the cop's like,
he's like, am I under arrest?
Yeah, am I under arrest? No. Those neighborhood watch guys are a joke. And then the kid ends up taking off, and that's when he gets killed. He gets tackled.
Yeah, he gets it too.
Which is another scary scene. I mean, really, another moment where...
You didn't expect that, though.
No, you didn't expect that.
You didn't expect that.
It's another moment where the horror takes over and it becomes a horror scene. I mean, really.
Mm-hmm.
I think in this movie, because right after that scene, it's the guys, the watch, all celebrating, and they're driving in their car singing You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, I guess it's called, by BTA, Bachman Turner Overdrive. And
they're celebrating their victory.
Singing. And that scene, it was always fun. And there's a lot of kind of like, honestly, like this movie, I think, has a great soundtrack. I mean, the songs, you have these kind of these old school hip hop rap songs throughout it with NWA and Snoop Dogg, and then
it's a mix of good songs.
Yeah, and then you have these classic songs like You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, and so they're all singing in the car. That scene I always thought was just hilarious because they're just laughing. You could tell, like. And that's the other thing, you have to... I think people need to keep in mind when watching movies is, a scene like that, for example, them driving, that could have been the last scene of the night. That could have been, a 16-hour day. The last scene is them driving, singing the song. Everyone's loopy, hopped up on coffee or whatever, those guys do, and... it's just a funny scene of them saying.
You can tell they're all breaking character.
Yeah, they're all laughing. They're all trying to sing the words.
But they're supposed to be celebrating their first victory. Like, they're being cocky. Like, yeah, they're drinking in the car. And Ben Stiller's not drinking because he's driving. Yeah. But the rest of them are. And so they're just, like, really taking it over the top.
And then that's when they hit the, what you soon find out is an alien. And they find all that shit. And they find... So they take out an alien. You don't see it. I guess the alien took off into the woods or whatever. That's when they feel that green goo, and that's when Vince Vaughn, feels like cum. I dare anyone touch him, tell me it doesn't feel like cum. Doing his fast talking, and that's when they find the silver ball, which is a pretty crucial part of the movie. It's basically at the end you find out it's part of the transmitter that they have to use, the aliens have to use to bring down, I guess, is that ever really explained? Do they use it to bring the spaceships down to Earth?
Not really. I think it's just supposed to be something that's just gonna, contact their planet and blow up Earth or something.
Yeah. Like which is funny because there's a part when, like, not to get too far ahead, but there's a part when Jamarcus... When he reveals himself to be an alien, he makes a joke. He was just like, "We're aliens. We go to planet to planet and destroy them. That's what we do."
Yeah, because they said, "Why would you do this?" And we're aliens. That's what we do.
Which is true, because in every alien movie, it is them they're just taking out Earth for no reason.
Yeah, like, why? We're just gonna kill you all. Like, why though? Like, you don't even have a reason. Yeah, he's like, so it's almost like kind of making fun of alien sci-fi movies. Like, we're aliens. That's what we do. Like, that's the explanation. Yeah. That's it. So I thought that was pretty funny.
So they have, so they have this ball now, and they soon discover that it's also a weapon, and it basically just blows shit up. Like, you shoot it at something, and
it's like a laser type of thing.
Blows up, and then they find it, they blow up a cow, which is always kind of fun. And I mean, I feel bad for the cow,
but... It's sad.
I mean, it's sad, but, you know... You gotta blow up something.
Yeah, but then they're blowing up bombs.
And then there's another montage. There's another... I think that's... What, Straight Outta Compton? Is that NWA? Is that... Who sings that? You would know more than me, maybe. But, another funny montage of them just blowing up shit. You know, the classic, like... Guys, we can't touch this. Yeah, guys, we definitely should not touch this. Cut the music down.
Yeah.
Blowing shit up. And then, you know, that they go back and keep celebrating. Every little thing, it's like...
They celebrate, yeah. Drinks, yeah.
Thing. Drinks. Like, we did it, guys. We found this. And that's when they start questioning about, like... This is, Vince Vaughn's like, this is aliens. This isn't from this world, guys. Mm-hmm. And they go, oh, you know, it's the government, it's aliens, you know, blah, blah, blah. They go off.
They suspect the old man has something to do with it.
They suspect the old man.
Because they don't know what to think.
Because they found the ball in R. Lee Ermey's yard. He comes out with a shotgun, scares him off, and they say, oh, this guy's involved. This is part of it. Why does he have this ball? Blah, blah, blah. Which you soon find out that there's no reason. The alien was probably just fucking running across the street, got hit.
Right.
Dropped the ball in front of this old crazy man's house. So soon after that, is the next scene, I guess they go...
Well, they take the ball to their house, so they're discussing what to do, and they think the old man's involved.
Yeah.
So they're trying to come up with this plan, and that's when they start Vince Vaughn saying, well, I think Franklin, who's Jonah Hill's character, he says, you know, he has... I think we've dressed Franklin up as a girl. And Jonah Hill scoots forward, and he's like, I'm listening. So he's like, well, he kind of has like woman features, and they're all like, yes, yes, exactly. He's like, we dress him up as a girl. He goes up there, you know, knocks on the door. He's going to talk to the old man, somehow find things out. So it's obviously ridiculous. And, and you can tell that they're all breaking character, and they're hiding behind, like, their face and things like that. And
looking away.
And there's, like,
you know.
Ben Stiller's like, that might just work. And so that's always, you know, it's a funny scene to watch.
Like I said, like we were saying, all the scenes when it's just the four of them in a room talking, like, you totally tell, like, yeah, chances are at least 50% of this is improv. Maybe the whole thing. And they I think they do it well. I think you can tell that they're all good improving act. What the fuck is the word? Improvisation actors, and that's, you know, just adds another element to the kind of charm of the movie. So soon after that is when they go back to the old man's house, find the alien. Ben Stiller knocks it out, thinks he kills it.
Because they find the old man dead.
They find the old man dead. He's like eating, split in half or something. And then now the audience says, okay, yeah, this is definitely aliens, you know, which you probably knew already going in. And Jamarcus and Ben Stiller, which is another scene, you rewatch it, knowing now that Jamarcus is an alien. And then it's like, okay, this scene makes sense, because Jamarcus kind of freezes up. You know, him and the alien get, you know, their faces get real close together. And they're, you know, now knowing... It's like, oh shit, he's probably like...
We're going to talk to each other.
Yeah, they might be talking to each other. So then, let's cut to another funny montage in the movie. There's a lot of montages in this movie, it seems like, is when they go back, you know, Ben Stiller's like, let's get the gang. They're back at Vince Vaughn's basement, his kind of man shack place, man cave, and they have the alien there, the dead...
Right.
They think his dead alien is sitting there, and then it cuts another montage with another great song by Jay Giles' band, Centerfold. Mm-hmm. My blood runs cold. Mm-hmm. You know, and a funny kind of photo montage of them just like taking snapping photos with it, dancing with it, fucking with it. Sure enough, the alien comes back, destroys the whole room, grabs the ball.
Mm-hmm. But before he leaves,
he says, "We are among you." Mm-hmm. So then that kind of starts the whole paranoia.
Mm-hmm. So you start thinking, okay, well then, now they're thinking, okay, well, did you hear what he said? So what... And they never ever suspect Jamarcus, by the way. They don't.
Yeah, why would you?
Right, but I'm saying, like, even when they say that, they're like, we can't trust anyone and blah, blah, blah. So they have a few misleads with other characters.
Yeah, so yeah. So I mean, so then cut to yet another montage with another great song, The Doors, "People Are Strange," of them just kind of each one of them around town, kind of looking at people, questioning like, "Are you real? Are you an alien?"
And just making them a little paranoid.
Making them paranoid, and one of the kind of it's so obvious. Like they make it so obvious that you think there's no way, but there's a funny character who plays Ben Stiller's neighbor. Mm-hmm. He plays this guy. His character name is Paul. Who he's kind of the new neighbor who moved across Ben Stiller's street. He's kind of creepy, kind of out there.
Yeah, he's just kind of weird. Like you're like, what's he doing?
Yeah,
like, he says weird. He pays Ben Stiller a lot of compliments. Tells him you're very fit, Evan Trelwig.
Yeah.
Like, he uses his full name, which seems strange.
Yeah.
And so it always shows Ben Stiller being like, huh? Like, kind of weirded out by him.
Yeah.
And he'll just throughout the movie, you'll see him on his porch, like he's just watching him.
He's definitely like one of the bigger red herrings in the movie. Mm. But like I said, like we were saying, like it's almost like, okay, this is too much. Like, we know this guy isn't part of it because
there has to be another something.
They're really, because then after the around town, they're all at the Costco again. Still looking around. Like Ben Stiller points out this older woman. Jonah Hill points out this little kid.
Right. Some old lady's just looking at fruit, and they're like, "Look at her." She's like, "Oh, what is this? Oh, like she's never seen fruit before. Oh my God, she has to be an alien." Like it's just funny because they start losing their minds a little bit.
Yeah. And then his neighbor shows up, pops in, and then he starts saying all these things like, "Oh, you have such great skin, Evan." And
he has all these batteries.
And they start thinking, "Oh my God, guys, he's an alien." And actually, here's another fact about that character, Paul, who's there's a point when it was going to be played by Thomas Lennon, who I guess is probably most known for his character in Reno 911.
Lieutenant
Dangle, the short shorts. So if you watch The Watch, and the creepy neighbor Paul across the street, like Evan's neighbor, Ben Stiller's neighbor, you could totally imagine Thomas Lennon, because he's always kind of playing those kind of, I don't even know what kind of characters,
just
like
off,
like maybe bi type of character. You know what I mean? Like, always kind of like, just kind of, I don't know. It seems like every movie he's always kind of like that part, like Dangle. He's kind of like almost Dangle.
Or you're just kind of like, what's he up to, sort of. Type
yeah.
Of thing.
But the actor, I can't find it, but the actor who played Paul
he's really funny.
Yeah.
He's funny too. Like, that's another thing. It's not the biggest part in the movie, but it's also funny. Like, he's still funny with just that little bit, with his cameos throughout the movie. And there's a part where they start to try to figure out, okay, so who is and who isn't, and when they're in the store, he invites him over. He invites Evan over.
Yeah, so what they think is they're doing like the characters are so certain that like he's an alien. This guy's an alien. So
like, we'll have to bust it.
We gotta bust it. So they all stake out his house, and Ben Stiller and Jamarcus end up going in. And the joke is you find out that he's some swinger type of character hosting this big orgy, a local orgy in his basement.
Yeah.
Which remind me of kind of another thing. If you rewatch this movie, there's a lot of foreshadowing. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning, when the Watch is formed, and all the characters are kind of introducing themselves. Again, another scene with all four of them in the room, and I think the chemistry works just fine. The character of Jamarcus, he goes up, he's like, "I'm Jamarcus, I blah blah blah," and then he's like, "I have this scenario that basically about showing up at a woman's house, like this Asian woman, and get this, she starts sucking my balls, and sure enough, when they show up at the orgy." Ben Stiller panics and leaves, and this beautiful Asian woman comes up to Jamarcus and says, "Can I suck your balls?" Okay, so that's one piece of foreshadowing. Another one is at least another one that I noticed, there's probably a bunch, is Vince Vaughn. There's a character. So basically, when Ben Stiller and Jamarcus, I feel bad, I keep calling this actor Jamarcus. Once they're kind of involved with the orgy scene, Vince Vaughn and Jonah Hill go to Vince Vaughn's daughter. She finds out she's at some party and some guy's trying to get with her. This guy. And earlier, this kind of asshole high school student guy who they saw in Costco.
Right.
Buying Maxim condoms. Vince Vaughn has this funny bit when he shouts out and, there's no way your dick's that fucking big! Or whatever. And Vince Vaughn makes a comment and says, I swear I'm going to rip his dick off. Cut to the end of the movie, you find out that this high school kid who's trying to get with Vince Vaughn's daughter is in fact one of the aliens. And as you find out, the alien's weaknesses is...
The only way to kill it.
To kill it is to take out their balls, because that's where their brains are. Right,
that's what Jamarcus tells them, and he says it's like all men, am I right?
So, and then sure enough, Vince Vaughn, that's what he does. He has a showdown with this high school student punk kid. Rips his dick right off, and it's awesome. That's what we need. I want to see more of that. I want to see more dicks getting ripped off. I think that's what we need.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I think so.
Interesting way to put it.
So cut towards the end of the movie, in the third act of the movie, Ben Stiller finally, there's a whole kind of B storyline about him with his wife, which...
It kind of explains why he's so uptight a little bit. He's kind of avoiding... he's always starting clubs, so the Neighborhood Watch was another club he had started.
Which annoyed his wife, because
he
spent more time on clubs.
Right, she even comments on you started another club, because she really wants to have children. She wants to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of their side story.
Yeah, so there's kind of that kind of husband-wife romantic issue, kind of like your cliche thing. I mean, it's a fine, it works for the movie, and then when Ben Stiller realizes in his character arc, he comes back and tells his wife the truth, and then which is that he's sterile, he can't have kids. Excuse me. And it's a fine moment, but then kind of, I guess we're talking about the pros to this movie. We should mention some cons, and one of my opinions is, I'm not saying it's the actress who plays his wife. I'm not saying it's her acting. Mm-hmm. Her acting's fine, but it's just, I don't know. In the third act, when they're kind of the big showdown, they go back. They find out the aliens, sure enough, are all forming at the Costco. Because that's where they have all the tools they need.
But Jamarcus tells them that.
Yeah, Jamarcus tells them that.
He reveals that he's an alien and tells them.
Yeah, so when Jamarcus reveals himself, he says, "Oh, they're all at your Costco," and so there's the big showdown. They get all these guns that Jonah Hill has stashed, and they go to, basically save the world. And then my only beef is, once Ben Stiller kind of has that arc with his wife, and that solution problem solved with his wife, she comes with the gang to the Costco to kind of help them fight, and I just felt like, I don't know, it didn't do anything. It didn't make it better. I felt like it kind of, I don't know. Like I said, nothing against her or wives, but I don't know. I just felt like, and she had all these kind of one-liners.
Well, her one-liners were bad.
Maybe that was it. They're at the big showdown at the Costco. They're shooting the aliens and stuff, and I feel like every scene ends with his wife having some one-liner, and it's kind of like, you're just kind of now in the movie. The whole time you're just here and there throughout the movie, mm-hmm. but mainly you're focused on the four guys.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, she's part of the team. She's part of the watch now, coming to shoot I don't know. I just wasn't really I wasn't too crazy about it.
Well, they never really show them explaining anything to her either.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, which I understand, you kind of want to move the story along, but, all of a sudden she's there and she's making these, corny lines. Yeah. That's really the only problem I had with it.
With the whole movie or just with her?
Pretty much the movie, because she, I don't know, they're getting ready to it's supposed to be a serious point in the movie. We're like, okay, we figured out what's going on. Like when Jamarcus reveals he's an alien, and Vince Vaughn says, "Why would you wait till the last minute to tell us? What kind of mind game are you playing? This is like, what are we supposed to do?" And she's kind of like, "What's going on? This is cool." Like that's kind of
I know
that to me is it's almost offensive as a woman and a wife, I guess. Like, I wouldn't be like, well, I get to hang out with the boys, It's, like, kind of more like, okay, I don't know. I just feel like it could have been done a little differently.
I think so.
Either that or tell her, go hide and gather, let other people know. I don't know, something. Because she's shooting a gun and she's like, this is so exciting.
I know.
And it's just lame. Like, why? Because you're a girl, you're like, oh, I shot a gun. Oh, my goodness. That's the only problem I had with it.
The entire movie?
Yeah.
You're right. Honestly, I mean...
Nobody else's character annoyed me. The plot didn't... Like, nothing else. The way they did the aliens, like, the transitions. I don't know. I really liked all of it. That was just kind of like, ugh. Like, whenever they show her towards the end, it's like kind of like an eye roll. Like, all right.
Yeah, it's kind of... Yeah, it's... And actually, I agree with you. I mean, thinking about the whole movie through... Yeah, that's, like, my least favorite... I mean, Yeah, I don't know. Like, I get why it's there...
Been done differently, maybe. I mean,
look, I get why it's there. Like, you kind of have that, like I said, that B storyline with the husband and wife having problems, and they there's a solution, and now they're better than how they were at the beginning of the movie. It's your classic arc,
right?
But yeah, you're right. Maybe it's her one-liners just kind of it was just spoiling the scenes and like kind of taking away from. Yeah. You're right. I think that probably is, like, my one kind of beef towards the movie is specifically in the showdown, her being there.
I mean, or even it's like, she didn't even have to say anything. They could have just had her kind of helping and not, I don't know. I just felt like it was just lines just weren't good. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. But it's and then to finish up the movie, they save the day, they save the world. They find the what's it called the silver ball they had is being used for the transmission, and they find it, they unplug it, get off running, and then end up blowing up the Costco, which is kind of
right.
It's kind of funny because it's. That's another thing that I think makes it, like, a pretty good movie is because, I don't know, like, even actually an interesting thing, at the very beginning montage, when it shows Ben Stiller talking about the Costco, it shows him fixing a floor grate, like, kind of putting it in place, which later on, that's
where they are.
Where the aliens are down there. So right there is even more foreshadowing, but it's nice because, the movie starts at a Costco. Mm-hmm. It ends right back at the Costco. They end up blowing up the Costco, which is kind of funny, and then the movie wraps up on a funny note. And I think I don't know. Yeah, just coming back to saying why this is underrated. I really think it is. I mean, the only reason I think not to like it is if you don't like those actors. I mean, like, I think the story's fine. Yeah, I'm reading reviews. Speaking of, we have to comment that the reviews for this movie are so fucking terrible. Like, I have the numbers right here. IMDb, Internet Movie Database, imdb.com. Great site. You can learn all sorts of shit. It gave this movie 5.7 out of 10 stars. Which we always talk about with the points. Like, it's like, come on. Like, I guess you do the numbers and it kind of adds up to that, but it's like, sometimes I can't stand that. Or like, I know on Netflix, if it's like, out of 5 stars, if it's like 4 9/10 of a star, it's like, really?
Like, I thought, you can barely tell it's not colored in. Is that... What is
that necessary?
What caused that little tiny, like, you can barely see it? What caused that part? Like, what caused it to be like, no, not 5, just 5 and 9th, 10th star. What was it?
I think it's 5.7. Just say 6 out of 10, man. Like, just round it up.
But even that's not as bad as the star.
No.
On net. I mean, the 4 out of 4 and 4 9th, 10th.
49th, 50th.
Yeah.
And now Rotten Tomatoes, which again, I this isn't gonna be the last time we probably talk about this site. I'm kind of I always knew that Rotten Tomatoes is kind of a harsh critic and reviewer or whatever the fuck you call them. But they gave this movie a 17%. I think that's way low. That's way too low. And I was reading reviews on it, people saying, there is no plot and this and that. I'm thinking like, the plot's fine. Like, is it considered a kind of basic plot? I mean, maybe. But there's a story there. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about, there's character arcs there. I mean, but 17%, Rotten Tomatoes is going to give that 17.
Yeah, like based on I don't even know why. Like I don't understand.
In my opinion, if you don't like those actors, that's the only thing I could really think of. Mm-hmm. If you really like, Ben Stiller annoys me, Vince Vaughn's weird, Jonah Hill's obnoxious. Like, my opinion and mine, that's the only reason why you wouldn't like this movie. I mean, it's a good movie. Like, it's shot well. It has a great soundtrack, like we said. Mm-hmm. I think I think it's funny. I mean, that comedies, I understand. They're, it's a tough one because you're never gonna win everyone over. No. For one. Because everyone has a different sense of humor, a different mm-hmm. style of comedy, different taste of what they like and taste in comedy. And so I get it. Like, but all I'm saying, Rotten Tomatoes, if anyone out there who works for them or whatever they do, 17%? It's fucking low, man. That's way too low.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, IMDb giving it, let's just round up to 6 out of 10. I guess I could. That doesn't seem so bad to me. No. Mm-mm. But 17%? Come on, guys. That's low. I personally think that this movie is very underrated. I don't know. Maybe, that's the thing. Box offices, numbers, and release dates are always... It's just so unpredictable. Because that's kind of the thing. And with these studio movies, these big, movies, they have it mathed out to at least what they think. Mm-hmm. But it's still a gamble. I mean, so for example, you got a group of people in the room. Oh, Ben Stiller, every one of his movies makes, boom, X amount, average mm-hmm. X amount. Vince Vaughn, X amount, this. So you put that together, this should be a successful mm-hmm. movie. Maybe the advertisements were weird. Maybe there wasn't enough advertisement. Like I said, maybe some of the cast had some flops beforehand. People didn't want that right now. People didn't want an alien thing. Maybe they just thought it was like a
weird combination. I mean, maybe they felt like, why is this? Who's that guy? Why are they all like this group together? Like it's not Vince Vaughn and Will Ferrell. Like I don't know. I think maybe sometimes people get used to seeing their favorite comedians together as a team, and maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
Or maybe people thought it was overplayed. Like, these guys again, they're together again.
Maybe.
Like
Jonah Hill and Vince Vaughn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that had something. It just wasn't familiar, so maybe that people didn't want to give it a chance. I don't know, but
if you like the cast, if you like movies like Dodgeball or Wedding, I mean, any of those guys' movies, I mean, I personally think you guys would like it and give it a chance and watch for it as a movie and I don't know.
And remember, like I said, it's almost like watching two movies because after you watch the first time, knowing that he's an alien, you watch it again, you pay attention to him pretty much the second time. So it's like seeing it from his point of view. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I did, and I got kind of more out of it. Thought it was fun to do that way.
So watch it. If you like it, watch it again. I'll tell you right now, it was kind of an impulse buy. We bought it for $1 on Blu-ray at our local Pittsburgh record exchange store. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely well worth $1. I mean, if you really hate it, I mean, if you see it for $1...
Yeah, if you really... Yeah, but...
Get it. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's... And check it out, and it's fun. They're a funny outtakes reel, right. Gag reel, special features, some good solid... It's a solid DVD / Blu-ray, whatever. Yeah, so I would say it's definitely an underrated movie, and... if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why you'd be listening to this, but nothing would make sense. Right. But if you haven't, check it out.
It's one of our favorite underrated movies.
Yeah.
Is The Watch.
And make sure and write comments if you want below. And
yeah,
if you think we're way fucking wrong with shit, comment it, because why let's talk about it.
Or if
Let's
you like
get involved.
Or if you like it and there's something else that we didn't pick up on, throughout the movie,
like
foreshadowing or something like that. I always like to hear what people have to say, or to say, oh, did you notice at this part they made this expression? Or I always like to hear other people's what else they noticed that I didn't pick up on. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, comment below, subscribe, like, whatever. Let's make it happen. Let's get it done. Let's get this going. But all right, guys, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more Wacko Radio, and we'll definitely be doing more underrated movies with maybe a few extra guests next time. And have a good morning, day, or night, guys.
Signing off, Wacko Radio. 1, 2, 3, see ya.